Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Caitlin. As you can tell by the title of today's video, I am just going to be kind of calling out adults that I guess I had to work with throughout my school years, K through 12. And I just think it's really interesting to think about how some adults get some sort of power trip off of getting a kid in trouble or issuing some kind of disciplinary action. And I think I saw it a lot throughout my years, so I'm just kind of going to be talking about it, and I think it's just kind of wrong. I believe that in education it's really important to build up kids as they get older because that's the whole point, and I just don't understand this idea of trying to break down different kids for whatever reason. Like, I know I had a few teachers that would take points off of your grade, well, not necessarily off of your grade, but they wouldn't give you extra credit if you were late for class or anything like that, and they would make it very clear you can't be late to my class or you're going to be marked tardy, and tardies kind of mess with your attendance. But I think it's also important to remember that nobody is perfect, and being on time for, I guess, first period every single day just isn't realistic. And I just thought it was weird how adults would make it their pride and joy to count kids tardy. And not only that, you have to keep in mind that a lot of kids don't necessarily have the perfect living situations or a stable form of transportation, so I just kind of hate stuff like that. That's why in this video I'm going to be talking about the dumbest reasons I got in trouble at school.
You're an earthly comfort, yet so divine.
This first story starts in middle school. This was when Ariana Grande was becoming very, very popular. She had released her single Problem, and a lot of people were starting to get to know her, and a big thing that she did was wear cat ears. And in middle school, I was the biggest Ariana Grande fan ever, and I wanted to wear cat ears to school, so I would. And I wore them to school a couple of times, and then I had a best friend at the time, her name was Jennifer, and Jenny and I wanted to match one day at school, so we were like, okay, we're both gonna wear hoodies, and then we're both gonna wear cat ears. And one time I was walking through the hallway, and the principal passed by, and she said, "Cat ears off, ladies." And I was like, okay, so we took them off, of course, we're not just gonna be like, no, why? So we take off our cat ears, and then I'm upset, and I'm just kind of talking to the different adults at school, and they're kind of like, that's weird. Why did she tell you that? And I just thought it was super interesting because a cat ear headband is a headband, and there's nothing in the dress code that says you can't wear cat ears to school. And I know that her excuse was that she didn't want us to become too costumey, but I don't think that there's anything costumey about wearing a cute headband. So I just thought it was really bizarre and wrong for her to think that it was okay to tell us that we couldn't wear cat ears to school because there was nothing in the rules about it. Okay, this next story is about the dress code. I'm a little bit of a dress code hater because I think it definitely contributes to like, oh, you have to cover up because these boys don't know how to control themselves, they're gonna get distracted in class. And I know that a lot of adults try to deny that that's where the dress code comes from, but that's where the dress code comes from. For the guys, the only dress code in high school was kind of like, you can't wear slides to school, which is literally a safety hazard because there was a lot of people that would like fall down the stairs because of those slides. But for girls, it's like, you can't wear a short skirt, you can't wear spaghetti straps. I think throughout the years that I went to school, I just thought it was so wrong for a dress code to be targeted at girls, and I think that's exactly what it is, targeted at girls. This particular time was Halloween, and this was my freshman year of high school. I was like fresh out of middle school, scared all the time because high school was genuinely scary for me my freshman year, and I decided to dress up as Harley Quinn. That was the year that Suicide Squad came out, and I know that everyone thought it was super basic to dress as Harley Quinn, but in my opinion, if you want to be basic, be basic. If it makes you happy, it makes you happy. So I decided to be Harley Quinn my freshman year, and I had these cute little red shorts, and then I had this big red tutu, and then I had the harness, I had the shirt, I even got a wig, and I did my makeup, and I had the boots, and I was just really, really excited about this costume because it was the first time that I felt proud of my costume because I had never really took the time to put together a costume, and this was definitely a costume I had to put together because of how many pieces I had to buy. And I was just really, really proud of how I looked. I thought I looked super cool. By far, it is one of the best costumes I've ever had. I was just really excited to wear this costume.
Ayo, fit check.
I go to school, and at this time, I really did look little. Like, I looked like a little kid. Obviously, my shorts were at a dress code. They were too short. They didn't pass like my fingertips or whatever the rule is. And I just thought, you know, I'll get away with it. Everyone kind of dresses this way for Halloween in high school, so I'll be fine. And during lunch, they decided to have a costume contest. At my school, there was a lot of student council events, and they would just kind of like do fun things during lunch. They would have little dance competitions, they would have karaoke, they would have mini games. And this day in particular, the student council was having a costume contest. I built up the confidence to go up in front of everyone as a freshman. I really had the audacity as a freshman to go up in front of everyone to compete for this costume contest, but I was really proud of my costume, like I said. So I went up and I stood by everyone, and they were like, oh, let's get some cheers for these different costumes. So then people were like, woo, and I just kind of felt happy that the seniors of that class were really supportive of me because I was friends with some of them, so they were kind of hyping me up. And then all of a sudden I feel a little tap on my shoulder, and it's one of the adults at school, and I just kind of turned around and looked at her like, you know, hi, like, what's up? And then she was like, your shorts are too short. And I'm just like, what do you want me to do about it? I didn't say that to her, but in my head I'm like, okay, what do you want me to do? We're in the middle of this like costume contest. Like, she pulls me off out of the area. Like she grabs me and like takes me away in front of everyone over some shorts. And it was just upsetting because she could have waited for after this little costume contest, but instead she decided to do it in front of everyone. And this story in particular upsets me because I think about how little I was. I was 14, and I know that at that age I'm like, oh, I'm 14, I'm in high school now. But in retrospect, I really was little, and I was like immature. It was just, I think it was in very poor taste. The dress code, it kind of perpetuates this idea of sexualizing kids. Like, I was being like sexualized when I was like 14, and you know, people say like, oh, she turned 18 now, it doesn't matter, but I wasn't even 18, I wasn't 15, I wasn't 16, I was 17, I was 14, and she took me off in front of everyone, embarrassing me over some legs. And like I said, like, I get that it's part of the rules and I should have been following the rules, but I just thought it was in very poor taste for her to take me off in front of literally everyone. And I think what bothered me about this too is that she sent me to the office, and then they took my whole lunch to like even address anything. So looking back, I think I would have just walked away. You know, just left. They didn't care that much, obviously. And I think what bothered me the most is that I was probably like the only girl who got dress coded that day, because I really didn't see anyone else get dress coded. There was a bunch of girls wearing spaghetti straps, wearing shorts, and there was a guy wearing a skin tight costume too. My 14-year-old self can't wear some shorts, but this guy can wear a skin tight costume. And I just thought it really showed the double standard and how the popular kids didn't get in trouble. And I just think if you're gonna enforce a dress code, enforce it on everyone, right? I don't think there should be a dress code, but if there is gonna be one, enforce it on everyone. Don't pick and choose students for that. This story is honestly like my fault. I'm the reason I got in trouble, but I think it just kind of goes onto the dress code rant. So one day for early release, I decided to wear some shorts because I thought, you know, it's early release. We kind of zoom through classes. We don't really do anything during classes. So I'm just gonna wear some cute shorts. And I thought that nothing was gonna happen because these shorts looked long. Like, they were high-waisted, and they were loose too. They weren't like tight, like skin tight, like booty shorts or anything like that. You can wear booty shorts if you want to, you know, do that, love you for that. But I'm just kind of emphasizing this because I know the sexist eyes that were watching me. And I was wearing these little loosey-goosey shorts. We were kind of standing outside of class, and one of the security guards was passing by with her little gang of security guards. And she was like, your shorts are too short. And I was like, oh, sorry if my legs offend you. And I didn't think she heard me, but even if she did, I would have been fine with it. And she did hear me, so she was like, what did you say? And then I was like, oh, like me? And then she was like, yeah. And then I went up to her and I was like, I said, sorry if my legs offend you. And then she didn't know what to say. And then there was an admin passing by, so then she tells the admin, she said, this little girl thinks her legs offend me. And the admin was kind of, what? Because I don't think the admin understood what was happening, like the context. And then she was like, she's at a dress code. And then she was like, oh, right. So then she goes on her little walkie-talkie. She tells the front office that there's gonna be a girl going over for dress code violation, whatever. I think what bothered me, again, like I said before, how adults were like picky and choosy about it. My thing is, if I hadn't said anything back, she wouldn't have done anything about it. Like, why call it out in the first place? You know what I'm saying? Why are you gonna yell in front of everyone like, your shorts are too short, if you're not doing anything about it? Like, not said anything, she wouldn't have made me go to the front office. So I just thought it was annoying. Like I said, if you're gonna call me out, do something about it. Don't just say something, do something about it if you're really about the rules like that. But anyways, I was really upset, so I just went home. I had my dad come pick me up. I was like, whatever, I'm over it. It's a half day, I'm not gonna miss anything because we don't do anything. Okay, so this story is actually pretty funny, and it's from elementary school. In elementary school, I had this best friend, and we had like crushes on like 2 different guys, and what we would do is we would pass each other notes, kind of talk about them in class. And we were 8, okay, this was in 3rd grade. We were 8, and we would pass notes to each other, and then we would pass notes to these guys, and we would be like, meet me under the dinosaur during lunch, and just dumb stuff like that. And one day our teacher was like, I cleaned y'all's desks last night, and I was like, oh cool. And if I were a teacher, I would see those notes and just throw them away or leave them in the little baskets that we had. But no, she decided to piece them together for a story. And she called us both in, like, to a separate classroom, and she was like, I found these notes, and then she was like, you should be focusing on school. And my thing is, like, we were 8. What were we gonna do? Who cares? Honestly, just a funny story. Whatever. This one is another elementary school story, and this one just gets to me because I look back and I'm like, she did that for what? If you know me, you know that I have always been extra. I love dressing up. I love wearing high heels. I would wear high heels in elementary school, and they weren't high heels, they were like little wedges from Justice. But I like to wear like my high heels. I like to have earrings on. I would wear headbands. I would try to match my outfits. I would match them with cardigans over my little school uniform. And yeah, I've just always been really extra. And one day in elementary school, I was kind of walking around in the playground. I was in 5th grade. I remember seeing one of the assistant principals outside, and in my head, well, you know what? I never really talked to her. I'm gonna go out of my way to be nice and say hello. So then I go up to her, and I wasn't really out of my shell at this point. I was out of my shell with my friends, but with adults, I was scared to talk to them. And I went up to her and I was like, hi, like, how are you? Hope you're having a good day, something like that. And then she was like, oh, hi, Caitlin, you know, saying hi back. But then she goes, and you know what? I'm gonna have to ask you to take off your earrings because they're too long. And I was like, what? Oh, okay. And I just kind of walked away weirded out. And I was upset because her earrings were longer than mine, first of all. And I didn't understand how my earrings could be too long. Was she trying to imply that I tried to make myself look older with like my long earrings? And keep in mind, these earrings weren't even really that long, like this long, maybe a little bit longer, and they were feathers, like they were feather earrings. I'll be sure to put a picture of what I was wearing. These. And it was just so weird. There was nothing in the dress code about earrings. There was nothing in the dress code about long earrings that were too long. And even when I tried to talk to my teacher about it, I was like, hey, Mr. Blank, this AP told me that my earrings were too long. And even he couldn't think of an excuse for that. I could tell that he was trying to explain the rules to me or something. Like he tried to make the admin seem like they were being reasonable, but he just kind of let it go because he couldn't. Why would you tell a 10-year-old your earrings are too long? What? Am I wrong for thinking that's wrong? What? Alright, this next story happened in high school. In high school, there was a guy that I would always start drama with me because he liked me. You know how they say like, oh, if he's mean to you, he likes you? That's how he was with me. He was mean to me, but it was because he liked me. And he kind of took it upon himself to make my life his business. Like he was always asking what boys I was texting, and I would just kind of be like, you know, who cares? It's not your problem. He would ask really inappropriate questions, and one day I just kind of got sick of it and I decided to report it. And the thing about this guy is that he and I were in the same club at school. I'm not going to say which one. Let's say it was the shelf club. So him and I are in the shelf club. We build shelves together. He would bother me, he would turn his friends against me because in this shelf club, he had a lot of close friends. They would kind of egg him on about me. And I noticed that when we would go to these shelf events, he would kind of talk about me to the other shelf club teams. And it was damaging to my reputation, and I wrote a blog about this. I'll be sure to link it in my description if you want to read more about it. And this shelf club boy was just always bothering me, and I just got tired of it one day, so I just decided I'm gonna assert a boundary and report this guy. I took it to one of the admins and I said, hey, this is what's been happening, blah blah blah. And then she goes, okay, she takes notes, whatever. And she calls him in. He denies everything and he gets away with it, but he left me alone. Tried to play it off like we messed with each other, but I really felt disrespected by him a lot. And this admin was like, "He'll leave you alone, sweetie." And I was like, okay. But the shelf club director, remember that day she called me in? It was the next day that from when I had reported him. And she called me in and she was like, "I shouldn't be having to deal with this today. I have a lot to do today and I shouldn't be having to deal with this." Later on, admins and like the other people involved kind of assured me that they know who this kid is and they kind of see what he's like. I wrote my blog about my reputation being ruined, but they all kind of stepped in to like assert me, saying like, "We know who he is and we see who you are, so don't worry about it." And that made me feel better. But I just think the day of, I reported something that had been bothering me for a while, and it was taken as I shouldn't have to be dealing with this today. Thankfully, the situation was taken care of. This last story is really funny, and I will say right now that I was in the wrong. What I did wasn't okay, but I just think it's a fun story to share. I always say I peaked in middle school because I was like the cheerleader captain. I had a best friend and we were like a power duo. And one day we were chilling at home. This is when Instagram was kind of getting popular amongst pretty much everyone. And one day I received a group DM from this girl saying that her and her boyfriend had broken up. So then all of us are kind of like trying to cheer her up. We're all saying, "Hey girl, it's okay. You don't need him. You're too pretty for him." Just the stuff that you tell your friend after a breakup. And then someone started saying, "We're gonna fight him. We're gonna beat him up." So then my dumb 12-year-old self decides to go, "Oh yeah, like we'll burn down his room." And then somehow someone in the group chat takes screenshots and sends it to the mom of this boy that we were like trash talking. And then she sends us all a DM and she's like, "You all are a bunch of bullies." Like threatened us. She was like, "I'm gonna go to the school, I'm gonna call the cops," like just all this stuff. I got where she was coming from. Obviously she's a mom, like she cares about her son. You know how like, moms are with their sons or like their little boys, you know, whatever. And she took it to the school the next day. My mom was like, "What happened?" And I was like, "Oh, so you heard about that." So then I just tell her like, you know, we were talking about this guy because he broke up with our friend and blah blah blah. And my mom was like, "Oh, okay, well you should like know that you're probably gonna get in trouble." And I was like, "Yeah, you know, it is what it is." And I got like kicked off the cheer team. I wasn't the captain anymore. I got like a referral or something like that. I don't know. And then I had SAC for 3 days. I got suspended on Halloween, so I couldn't wear like my custom costume that year. It was all a mess. Looking back, I'm just like, what were a bunch of 12-year-olds gonna do? We're literally like 12. It's like, "Oh, you're such a 12-year-old. We were literally 12-year-olds. I know the mom wanted to assert a boundary, I guess, you know, like not to be saying things like that on social media. Of course, like we apologized to her that day. We messaged her, "We're so sorry, like we didn't mean like any harm to your son. Like we were obviously weren't gonna do anything about it." But then she was like, "No, you're all a bunch of bullies. I'm gonna call the cops. I'm gonna report it to the school." So I was just like, okay, like I shouldn't have said that. It's cool. And I definitely take full accountability for that. Like maybe at 12 I should have known better, but obviously learn somehow, because it was literally a group of like 8 of us who got suspended on the same day, and then we all had SAC back to back. And I remember like during SAC my teachers would come in and be like, "I didn't expect this from you." And I'm like, "Sis, I didn't expect it either." Thankfully, none of that led to anything major. They let us back on the cheer team because they were like, "You're good kids, you made a mistake." And it was just really, really bizarre, really funny. Can't believe it happened, but it is what it is. Alright, that concludes the video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you want to share any bizarre ways you got in trouble or any weird things adults did to get power trips to you during school, be sure to leave them in the comment section below. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It really, really helps out my channel. And I will see you all during the week.
I never see you anymore.